something in your bedroom. Padre Pio would never have allowed it. Something so perilous. It could be blocking the most sacred blessing God can grant a couple. And the most terrifying part, you probably have it there. Without even knowing, Padre Pio of Pietrelcina, he wasn't just any saint. He was a man who could see through the spiritual veil, a man who, with a single glance, knew if your soul was at peace or if something dark lingered in your life. And when it came to the marital bedroom, his warnings were absolute. During his decades of ministry, Padre Pio received thousands of desperate couples who had spent years trying to conceive without success. Marriages that had spent fortunes on medical treatments, prayed countless rosaries, visited every holy site imaginable. Yet, their arms remained empty. Do you know what Padre Pio discovered in each of these cases? The problem wasn't in their bodies. The problem was in their homes. There's a letter, dated March 15, 1954, a letter the church kept silent about for decades. In it, Padre Pio wrote to a Neapolitan couple these exact words: "My children, as long as you keep that object in your bedchamber, the Lord will not bless your marriage with fruit. Remove it immediately and purify the place where you rest." 6 months later, that couple had their first child, after 8 years of infertility. But before I reveal exactly what that object is that blocks fertility, you need to understand something fundamental, something Padre Pio taught, but modern priests no longer preach. Your bedroom, it's not just where you sleep. It's a spiritual sanctuary. It's where two souls unite in the most sacred mystery of marriage, and for that reason, it's also where the forces of evil most want to interfere. Think about this for a moment. Where would Satan strike? If he wanted to destroy a family before it even began? Exactly there, in the intimate place where life is conceived. Padre Pio knew this, and that's why he developed what he called the doctrine of the purified bedroom, a series of spiritual principles every Catholic couple should know, but that the modern church has forgotten to teach. The first principle is this: every object in your bedroom has a spiritual charge. Everything. From the crucifix on the wall, to that little trinket you bought on vacation without a second thought. And some of these objects, however innocent they may seem, can act as spiritual gateways for forces you don't want in your life. Have you ever felt a strange heaviness upon entering your bedroom? Have you noticed that marital arguments always seem to escalate there? Have you experienced those disturbing dreams that leave you exhausted upon waking? Padre Pio would say it's no coincidence. He would say something in that space is attracting negative influences. But here's what worries me most. Most couples who consult me have this object in their bedroom. They have it there, day after day, night after night, without suspecting the spiritual damage it may be causing. And when I mention it, their first reaction is always the same, but it's just no. It's not just anything. In the spiritual world, there are no neutral objects. Everything has power. Everything has influence, and everything can be used for good or for evil. Padre Pio told a story that sends chills down my spine every time I remember it. A young couple came to see him in 1949. They had been married for 4 years and couldn't conceive. Doctors had told them there was nothing physically wrong with either of them. It was, according to science, an inexplicable mystery. Padre Pio closed his eyes for several minutes, as if he were seeing something others couldn't see. Then he opened them and said, "You have a mirror in your bedroom, an antique mirror with a gilded frame. You bought it at a flea market in Rome." The couple was stunned. It was exactly like that, a beautiful mirror they had found at the Mercato delle Pulci. and now hung opposite their bed. That mirror, Padre Pio continued, has reflected too many tragedies. It has seen too many tears. And now it reflects yours every night, multiplying the sadness until it becomes a spiritual barrier. He asked them to get rid of the mirror immediately, not to move it to another room, to get rid of it completely. Some objects, he explained, are so saturated with negative energy that they cannot be purified. They can only be eliminated. 3 months later, the woman was pregnant. Coincidence? Padre Pio didn't believe in coincidences. He believed in spiritual connections that the modern mind refuses to accept, and this is the point I want you to understand. The object you have in your bedroom, the object that is blocking God's blessings in your life, might seem completely harmless. It might even seem beautiful, but its spiritual history, its energetic charge, its invisible influence, all of that could be creating a field of negative force around the most sacred act of marriage. Padre Pio identified 7 categories of objects that should never be in a marital bedroom. 7 types of items that, according to his decades of experience helping infertile couples, acted as spiritual blockers of fertility. The first category will surprise you. They are objects related to non-Christian cultures, statues of Buddha, Hindu figures, traditional African art, tribal masks, even those beautiful Oriental tapestries with religious symbols from other traditions. Look, a desperate follower once wrote to me, I respect all religions. I have a beautiful Ganesha figure that I bought in India. It's precious and brings me peace. How can that be bad? Padre Pio's answer would have been direct and unambiguous. It's not that other religions are bad. It's that when you invoke the blessing of the Christian God on your marriage and your fertility, you cannot at the same time have symbols that invoke other spiritual powers. It's like asking for directions from 2 different maps. You're going to get lost. But there's something even more specific that Padre Pio discovered in his years of ministry. Something that appeared again and again in the bedrooms of couples who couldn't conceive, and when I mention it, most people laugh. They laugh until they understand the spiritual logic behind it. They are mirrors, especially large mirrors that reflect the marital bed. A mirror in the bedroom, Padre Pio taught, doubles everything that happens in that space. It doubles the emotions, it doubles the energies, it doubles the spiritual presences. And if there's any negative influence in your life, if there's any spiritual blockage, that mirror will multiply it until it becomes an invisible wall. Think about it from this perspective. The marital act, the nuptial union, is a moment of greatest spiritual vulnerability between 2 people. It's when the soul's defenses are completely open. It's when 2 spirits become one. Do you really want that sacred moment observed and reflected by an object you don't know what energies it has absorbed over the years? Padre Pio had an absolute rule. No mirror should be able to reflect the marital bed. And if there were mirrors in the bedchamber, they should be covered at night with blessed cloths. But the second category of problematic objects is even more common. And you probably have it in your bedroom right now without even thinking about it. They are plants, especially certain plants that, according to Padre Pio, absorb vital energy instead of purifying the air. Now, before you think I've gone mad, listen to the spiritual logic. Plants are living beings. They breathe, they grow, they absorb energy from the environment. And during the night, when they are in rest mode, some specific plants reverse their energy process. Instead of giving life to the space, they absorb it. Padre Pio identified 3 plants that should never be in a marital bedroom: cacti, thorny plants, and plants that bloom only at night. Cacti, he explained, are survival plants. They are designed to resist, to defend themselves, to protect themselves from the environment. That defensive energy is the exact opposite of what you need in a marital bedroom, where the goal is openness, loving vulnerability, total surrender, and night-blooming plants. Those are even more problematic according to Padre Pio. A plant that blooms only in the dark is attuned to nocturnal energies, and nocturnal energies are not what we want inviting when creating life. Sounds medieval, right? Until you start researching and discover that many spiritual traditions around the world have similar warnings about certain types of plants in intimate spaces. But here comes what really worries me. The third category of objects that Padre Pio considered spiritually dangerous in the bedroom, and this category includes something that practically everyone has. They are second-hand objects with an unknown history. That vintage dresser you bought at a garage sale, that antique lamp you found at a flea market, that beautiful jewelry box you inherited from a great aunt you barely knew. All those objects carry with them the energy of their previous owners. And this is where things get really serious. Padre Pio could read the energetic history of objects. He could touch something and know immediately if it had been present during tragedies, arguments, betrayals, or any kind of human suffering. Objects, he taught, are like spiritual sponges. They absorb the most intense emotions that happen around them. And once saturated with pain, they transmit that pain to any space where you place them. Imagine this. You buy a beautiful antique dresser for your bedroom. You love its style, its history, the way it complements your decor. But what you don't know is that that dresser was in the bedroom of a couple who divorced after years of bitter fights, that it was present during countless nights of crying, of reproaches, of marital despair. According to Padre Pio, that dresser now carries that energy into your bedroom, and every night, while you and your partner sleep, that energy seeps into their subconscious, planting seeds of discord that they can't even consciously identify. That's why, Padre Pio explained, some happy couples start having problems seemingly out of nowhere. It's not that they've stopped loving each other, it's that something in their environment is constantly sabotaging their harmony. And when it comes to fertility, the effect is even more direct. Because conception is not just a physical process. It's an act of co-creation with God, and for God to bless that act with new life, the spiritual environment must be completely aligned with His purposes. An object laden with sadness, frustration, energy of separation, can create an invisible barrier that prevents life from flourishing. But there's something even more specific that I want to share with you. Something that Padre Pio discovered and that has deeply impacted me since I started researching this topic. In 1958, a couple from Milan came to see him. They had been married for 12 years and had never been able to conceive. They had tried everything. They had spent a fortune on treatments. They had made pilgrimages to Lourdes, to Fatima, to all the Marian shrines in Europe. Padre Pio listened to them patiently. Then he asked a question that completely baffled them. Do you have photographs of deceased people in your bedroom? The answer was yes. They had a beautiful gallery of family photographs on the bedroom wall. Grandparents, uncles, parents who had already passed away. A beautiful tribute to family memory. Remove those photographs from the bedroom, Padre Pio said softly. With all the love and respect for your loved ones, but the marital bedroom is a space to create life, not to remember death. The couple felt offended. It seemed disrespectful to their ancestors. But Padre Pio insisted, it's not about disrespect, it's about spiritual understanding. Photographs of the deceased maintain an energetic connection with the world of those who have passed, and that connection, however loving it may be, can interfere with the process of bringing new souls into this world. Reluctantly, the couple moved the photographs to the living room. They created a beautiful family altar where they could honor their loved ones every day. 8 months later, Their first child was born. Now, before you think all this is superstition, consider this. Padre Pio wasn't just a mystic. He was also an extremely practical man. His advice didn't come from abstract theories. It came from decades of observing patterns, of seeing what worked and what didn't, of connecting dots that others couldn't see. And the most consistent pattern he observed was this. Couples who completely purified their bedrooms, according to his guidelines, had a significantly higher conception rate than those who didn't. Coincidence? Placebo effect? Direct divine intervention? Padre Pio would say it doesn't matter how you explain it scientifically. What matters is that it works. And it works because when you align your physical space with the correct spiritual principles, you create optimal conditions for God to act in your life. But here's the part that can really change your life. Because so far, we've talked about what to remove from the bedroom, but Padre Pio also had very specific guidelines on what should be there. Objects that not only don't block fertility, but actively encourage it. The first essential object, according to Padre Pio, is an image of the Holy Family. Not just any image, a specific image where Joseph, Mary, and the baby Jesus are depicted as a complete and loving family. This image, he explained, serves as a spiritual mold for your own family. When a couple contemplates the perfect model of a Christian family daily, he taught, their subconscious aligns with that reality. And what the subconscious accepts as real, God can manifest in physical reality. The second essential object is holy water, but not stored just anywhere. Padre Pio insisted that there should be a small container of holy water by the bed, and that the spouses should bless each other with this water before the marital act. Holy water, he explained, is not just a symbol. It's a minor sacrament that purifies the spiritual environment and invokes divine protection over the most sacred act of marriage. And the third object, this one will surprise you. Padre Pio recommended that all couples wishing to conceive have a small relic of a saint known to intercede in cases of infertility, especially relics of Saint Anne, the mother of Mary, or Saint Joseph, the adoptive father of Jesus. Relics, he taught, are not magical objects. They are connection points with souls already in God's presence, souls who can intercede for us with a power the living cannot match. But all of this, all these sacred objects, all this spiritual purification is useless if the blocking object is still there. If you continue to keep in your bedroom that thing that is acting as an invisible barrier between your desire to become parents and God's blessing. And now, finally, it's time to reveal what that specific object is that Padre Pio considered the most dangerous of all. The object that appeared in 80% of the cases of unexplained infertility that came to his consultation. The object that, however beautiful and innocent it may seem, may be silently sabotaging your ability to conceive. They are electronic devices, especially mobile phones, televisions, and any device that emits electromagnetic radiation near the marital bed. Now, before you think this is impossible because Padre Pio died in 1968, before the digital age, let me explain something few know. In his last years of life, Padre Pio began to have very specific visions about the future of humanity. Visions about inventions that would change the way people live, sleep, and relate. In a letter dated September 3rd, 1967, just 1 year before his death, Padre Pio wrote to one of his spiritual directors, "I see small machines that men will always have with them. Machines that will emit a light that is not of God. And these machines will steal from families what they need most to multiply, the sacred silence of the bedchamber." For decades, no one understood that prophecy, until mobile phones arrived. But there's something even more specific that Padre Pio predicted. Something that gave me chills when I first read it in the secret archives of the Vatican. He wrote verbatim, "These machines of false light will create an invisible barrier between man and woman, a barrier that will prevent the seeds of life from finding fertile ground." How could a 20th century Italian friar know this? The answer lies in his prophetic gift. The same gift that allowed him to see the state of people's souls also allowed him to glimpse future threats against the Christian family. And the greatest threat, according to Padre Pio, wouldn't come from wars or persecutions. It would come from seemingly innocuous objects that people would voluntarily introduce into their homes without understanding their destructive power. Electronic devices in the bedroom create what Padre Pio called constant spiritual interference. They not only emit electromagnetic radiation that can affect the biological processes of reproduction, but they also emit what he described as spiritual noise. The marital act, Padre Pio taught, requires absolute spiritual silence. It requires that the souls of the spouses can connect without external interference. But these machines, even when turned off, maintain an energetic vibration that acts like static on a radio, preventing divine frequencies from arriving clearly. Think about this from a practical perspective. How many times have you been in an intimate moment with your partner and felt the urge to check your phone? How many times has the presence of these devices mentally interrupted the deep connection you were trying to establish? But the problem goes beyond conscious distractions. Electronic devices emit electromagnetic fields 24 hours a day. And these fields, according to the most recent research, can interfere with the production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates not only sleep, but also fertility. Padre Pio knew this without the need for scientific studies. He saw it on the spiritual plane. Where there is electromagnetic noise, he said, there can be no divine conception. But there's a specific case that perfectly illustrates this principle. In 1966, 2 years before Padre Pio's death, a young couple from Bari came to consult him. She was a doctor. He was an engineer. Two highly educated people who had consulted the best fertility specialists in Europe. When Padre Pio received them, he immediately noticed something strange. The man carried a small device in his pocket, a device that emitted a flashing red light. It was one of the first medical beepers, which doctors used for emergencies. "That device," Padre Pio told him, "you also take it to your bedroom, don't you?" The man confessed that he did. As an emergency doctor, he had to be reachable 24 hours a day. "As long as that device is near your bed," Padre Pio warned him, "your marriage will not be blessed with children. Life cannot flourish where there is constant interference with the natural rhythms that God established." The couple was skeptical. How could a simple beeper affect fertility? Padre Pio closed his eyes for a moment, as if seeing something in another dimension. Then he said, "In the coming years, these devices will become much smaller and far more powerful, and humanity will carry them everywhere, even into the most sacred places." He paused, his voice deepening with gravity. "This will be the greatest test for Christian families, choosing between connection with machines or connection with God." The couple decided to heed his advice. The doctor left his beeper in the kitchen at night, connected to an extension cord that allowed him to hear it from the bedroom if necessary. 4 months later, his wife was pregnant. But Padre Pio's prophecy about electronic devices went far beyond mobile phones. It specifically included televisions in the bedroom. "The television," he said, "is a window to the outside world, and the marital bedroom must be a sanctuary, closed to the outside world." He continued, "When you allow the images, the sounds, the energies of the world to enter your most intimate space, you are inviting influences that can interfere with the creation of new life. And he was right, in ways he couldn't have fully imagined. Television not only emits electromagnetic radiation, but it also fills the subconscious with images, sounds, and emotions that have nothing to do with marital intimacy. Imagine this. You're trying to connect spiritually with your partner, attempting to create the conditions for God to bless your marriage with a child, but your subconscious is processing remnants of the violent news you watched before bed, of the commercials promising happiness through consumption, of the shows that normalize infidelity and divorce. How can your soul find the peace necessary to co-create with God amidst all that mental pollution? But here comes something that can change everything. Because just as Padre Pio identified the objects that block fertility, he also developed a specific protocol to completely purify the marital bedroom, a protocol he called the 7 steps to the fertile sanctuary. The first step is complete removal, not moving to another room, but completely eliminating all the objects we've mentioned. Electronic devices must leave the bedroom entirely. Mirrors reflecting the bed must be removed or permanently covered. Second-hand objects with unknown histories should be donated or discarded. There can be no half measures in spiritual purification, Padre Pio taught. Either your bedroom is a sanctuary completely dedicated to God, or it will remain vulnerable to contrary influences. The second step is the physical purification of the space. This includes a thorough cleansing with holy water, but not just any cleansing. Padre Pio had very specific instructions. The holy water must be mixed with blessed salt, and the mixture must be applied to the 4 corners of the bedroom while reciting the Lord's Prayer. Salt, he explained, is a purifying mineral that Jesus himself mentioned in the scriptures, and when combined with holy water, it creates a spiritual shield that repels negative influences. The third step is the consecration of the marital bed. This means specifically blessing the bed where the spouses unite. Padre Pio recommended sprinkling the bed with holy water while reciting a prayer he himself composed. Lord Jesus, just as you blessed the wedding at Cana, bless this marital bed. May it be a place of pure love, of total surrender, and of co-creation with you in the miracle of life. The fourth step is the installation of specific sacred objects. We've already mentioned the image of the Holy Family, the holy water, and the relics of saints. But Padre Pio added 2 more elements, a blessed wooden cross that should be visible from the bed and a white candle that should be lit during the marital act. The cross, he taught, reminds the spouses that their union is a reflection of Christ's sacrificial love, and the candle represents the presence of the Holy Spirit, who should be invited as a witness to this sacred act. The fifth step is the establishment of a sacred schedule. Padre Pio firmly believed that there is a more opportune time of day for conception. According to his observations, couples attempting conception between 9 and 11 p.m. had greater success than those who did so at other times. That's the time, he explained, when the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds is thinnest, when prayers ascend more easily to heaven, and when God's blessings descend more easily to earth. The sixth step is prior spiritual preparation. This includes both spouses confessing and receiving communion before attempting conception. But it also includes a 24-hour fast from any worldly entertainment. No television, no social media, no conversations about everyday problems. The soul, Padre Pio taught, must be completely freed from worldly concerns to fully participate in the mystery of creation. And the seventh step, the most important of all, is joint prayer after the marital act. Padre Pio insisted that the spouses should remain united in prayer for at least 10 minutes after the physical union, thanking God for the gift of their love and asking for his blessing on any life that may have been conceived. That moment of joint prayer, he explained, is when the soul of the new being, if it has been created, receives its first earthly blessing. It is the most sacred moment in a family's life. But here's something that has deeply impacted me in my years of research on Padre Pio's teachings. These guidelines aren't just for couples struggling with infertility. They are for any couple who wants to completely align their marriage with God's will, because according to Padre Pio, when a marital bedroom becomes a true sanctuary, it doesn't just increase physical fertility. It also increases what he called the spiritual fertility of the marriage. A spiritually fertile marriage, he taught, produces not only children for the earth, but also fruit for heaven. It produces peace, joy, love that multiplies and overflows onto the entire family and community. And this is something I've seen again and again in couples who have followed these guidelines. Not only have many conceived after years of infertility, but all have reported a dramatic improvement in the quality of their marital relationship. Why? For when you eliminate distractions, interference, and negative influences from your most intimate space, you create the perfect conditions for true love to blossom. But there's an aspect of these teachings that Padre Pio considered absolutely crucial, and that most couples overlook. It's not enough to purify the marital bedroom once. The purification must be maintained with constant vigilance. The world is constantly trying to invade sacred spaces, he warned. If you don't maintain your sanctuary with daily care, it will gradually become contaminated again. This means that each day upon waking, spouses should examine their bedchamber with spiritual eyes. Has an object entered that shouldn't be there? Has any emotional tension accumulated that needs to be purified? Is everything in its place to honor God? And each night before retiring, they should renew the consecration of the space. A simple prayer, a sprinkling of holy water, a moment of gratitude for the intimacy they are about to share. Consistency in spiritual practices, Padre Pio taught, is what makes them powerful. Occasional purification has no strength, but daily purification creates a spiritual shield that no negative force can penetrate. And here we arrive at the heart of this entire message, because in the end, it's not just about having children. It's about living a marriage that is truly a reflection of God's love on earth. When your bedroom becomes a sanctuary, when every object in that space is aligned with divine purposes, when every intimate moment is a prayer made reality, your marriage transforms into something far greater than a simple human relationship. It becomes a meeting point between heaven and earth, a place where God can manifest his creative love through the union of two souls who have completely surrendered to him. And that transformation, that sanctification of marital intimacy, is what truly opens the doors for life to flourish in all its forms. If, upon hearing this message, you feel a deep resonance in your heart, if you recognize that your bedroom needs this purification, don't wait. Begin today. Remove that object you know shouldn't be there. Consecrate your space to the Lord. Invite Padre Pio to intercede for your marriage, because in his own words, written in one of his last letters, there is no couple who, following these principles with true faith, will not receive the blessings their hearts desire. God never denies life to those who truly prepare a home to receive it. Your bedroom can be that home. Your marriage can be that sanctuary. And your arms can finally be blessed with the life you have so long awaited. It all begins with a decision, the decision to eliminate what blocks and embrace what blesses. Are you ready to take that step?